That was my knock. Hi, good evening. The Housing and Human Welfare Committee will be called to order at, I have here 6:34 p.m. on Tuesday, February 22nd. All members are present, that being Alderman Brooke Schottlemyre and Alderman Dwan Gay. Can we start by having an approval of the agenda? Can I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Point of order, Madam Acting Chair.
Yes.
I believe before we make a motion to approve the agenda, we need to make an amendment to it to add an election, to add the election of the permanent chair. Is that correct? Or
oh, it's on.
No,
that's
sir,
next.
it's on the agenda. It's next, but you have to approve the agenda first.
All right. My apologies. In that case, I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
I will swiftly pass the batons soon. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and our first order of business is the election of chairman pursuant to City Code Section 2.16.120. Can I have a motion for the election of our chairman?
I'd like to nominate Alderman Dwan Gay.
Can I second that? I second that.
All right.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I herewith pass the baton to our chair, Alderman Gay, to run the rest of the meeting. Thanks.
Good to be back. So we've got a busy agenda ahead of us. So let's jump into the appointments and reappointments. We can start with AP 1922, the appointment of Corey Makel to the Education Commission.
Okay. I've had time to read her application and her resume, so I'll make a motion. Unless is she here? How do we want to do this? Well,
So I think we'll let her speak first.
Okay.
Then we'll make the motion. And I think she's been active already. We're just kind of formalizing this tonight, but I'll turn it over.
There she is. Hi, Corey. She is here. Sorry.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. We wanted to turn the floor over to you. We allow you to say a couple of things, and we're obviously just glad to have you a part of the commission, and particularly representing Ward 6. I know you're passionate about the issues and about the community and have kids in our communities. And so I know you'll bring that passion to the commission.
Yes, sir. I just noticed that it's a lot of things going on, this year in the schools. And I just want to try to see how we can become proactive instead of reactive. I've been in this community for 13 years, and I just really love the people. And I want my children, as well as other people's kids, to have a great experience in the school system and the neighborhood as well.
We appreciate you stepping up to that call, definitely, and look forward to being supportive as we can. I know Alderwoman Finlayson is the liaison, and she definitely updates us, and we try to jump in there where we can, but we definitely appreciate all the recommendations that you all make.
Thank you so much.
Ellie, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, I just want to say that, Corey, your comments couldn't be more timely than today, and what's been on our mind with these young kids, and how important it is for us to have the community involvement and keeping the kids in school and all that. So thank you very much for volunteering.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys for, allowing me, and, I'm just very grateful for the nomination.
We ready to take a vote, or did you want to say anything, Alderman Schottlemyre?
Just that I'd like to make a motion for a favorable recommendation.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. I believe we're passing it off to the full council, I believe, and it will be approved. When is our next meeting?
Monday
28th.
night.
The 28th, Monday. So next Monday. Awesome. Look forward to getting you confirmed then. And thank you again very much. And look forward to being in touch.
All right, you guys have a great night.
You too,
Thanks.
Corey. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Our next item on the agenda is AP 2022, the appointment of Jamie Weaver of the Education Commission.
Hello.
Hi, Jamie. How are you doing this evening?
Great. How are you guys?
I'm well. We're excited to have you. And what ward are you representing?
Ward 2.
Okay, Ward 2.
Farmers Ward, West Annapolis.
Absolutely. I'm sure she would be thrilled to have you. Or you wanted to share any words this evening?
No, I'm just really excited to be able to contribute and being a part of everything. I love being an active part of Germantown Elementary, which is where 3 of my children go, and working really hard over there with even like the new community leader over there at the school to be on their steering committee and just like to volunteer and just be a part. So I'm really excited to be able to join.
That's awesome. That's great. We appreciate the civic engagement. It's definitely needed in these times, as Ellie mentioned, and so we appreciate you stepping up again to that call.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Alderman Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Weaver, I want to say, going over your resume, I am very excited by your actual background in education, your time as a special education teacher, along with your work with the local PTA, I think is very relevant to this position, and I'm very excited. And unless any of my colleagues have other questions, I'd like to make a favorable recommendation.
I'll go ahead and second that recommendation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. And as mentioned, it will be approved at our full council meeting on the 28th. And so we look forward to having you serve, and thank you again.
Great. Thank you guys.
All
Awesome.
right.
Bye.
Bye.
Next item on our agenda are the presentation or committee presentations. And so we have ID 4222, ID 4322. And I think, as Ellie mentioned earlier, both of these are timely, as these are considered resources that could be pivotal in our community to assist, just in particular with some of the issues that we have, both social and physical violent crimes. And so I'm eager to dive into the presentations, get some reports. We'll allow the individual groups to present, and then we'll go Alderwoman Tierney questions, then Alderman Shandemeyer, and then myself. And so we'll just try to get through it as quickly as we can, trying to be respectful of everybody's time, but also, hoping that everybody gets their questions answered. So I'll turn it over to Erin Lee, the social worker care coordinator.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
And yeah, very happy to be here, very happy to present as well.
And And Director Simmons is here as well. I did not see you. My apologies.
And actually, I do have some slides that I'd like to present during this time. Tiki, do you happen to have those?
Yes, it's coming.
Eric, too.
All right, thank you. Okay. Thank you. And so tonight we'd like to present and show off the accomplishments, as well as talk about the roles of the Office of Community Services. We'd like to start with some information at first. Next slide, please. So currently the Office of Community Services is actually located in 2 separate areas, one in the Robinwood neighborhood and the other in the Harbor House neighborhood. Our current operating hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., but we are very flexible in that residents, they can always request to meet earlier than 10 a.m. or later than 4 p.m. And we just always ask for residents or representatives calling on their behalf just to contact Erica or myself. And we do have our numbers listed there on the slide as well. Also for the Robinwood area, we do offer drop-in business hours. Either myself or Erica will be there, or we'll both be there at the same time. That's actually one of the more popular ways folks can get in touch with us as well, just to come knock on our door. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what are the roles of the Office of Community Services? We do have many, and we keep adding more as we go along. That's how usually things go. But our most important roles at this time are, one, connecting Annapolis residents that are in need of assistance to local resources, such as rental assistance, mental health care, and legal assistance. Those are just, a very short list of all the other assistance needs that, the residents of Annapolis have, and that we also do connect them to. We also partner with city-based nonprofit organizations in order to bring resources to underserved areas of Annapolis. Definitely one of the big concerns that we have heard, and also concerns even as during the hiring process, was that many residents are not able to get to resources around the city just due to lack of transportation. And so one of the things that we would like to help with that situation is through our community resource buildings, is that we're able to host different nonprofits such as the Arundel Lodge, Seeds for Success, and Charting Careers. They're more than welcome to use our space. We also serve as a liaison and representation for our residents. We have had residents who have issues, say with their housing manager or building manager, instances where we do step up as their representative in order to make sure things, for example, like house repairs are done in a timely manner. And we also do provide wraparound services for families. As we saw in the beginning of our work, we found that many families were not being served just by connecting them to a resource or giving them a number. They definitely needed extra assistance, or they had multiple needs, and that's where the wraparound services come into play. Next slide, please. So as of this date, which is February 22nd, 2022, the Office of Community Services has assisted in connecting 180 Annapolis residents to local, county, and state resources. A majority of the calls for assistance that are received are for rental assistance, home repair assistance, and assistance in finding affordable housing. I do apologize. There is one thing I did leave out there, and that is actually assisting the homeless population here in Annapolis as well, mainly with finding shelter, as well as housing resources if they are interested in going back into a home. Next slide, please. All right, so at this time, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my role, which is the social work care coordinator, and how I normally interact with Annapolis residents. So ideally, on a daily basis, it is my responsibility to connect residents to services in Annapolis. And if, say, for example, if that service is not being provided in Annapolis for any reason, then it'll be my job to assist the resident in researching, finding what resources there are in Anne Arundel County or in the state, and getting them connected that way. And just making sure that it's the right resource. We always follow up, making sure everything is getting taken care of, and because sometimes even another need may pop up during that period of time. So mainly, most of my referrals do come from the mayor's office, the city manager's office, older people, and Annapolis residents calling on residents' behalf. I have also received calls as word about our office gets out from our local hospital systems. We have hospital social workers calling as their patients are settling back into the community, just looking for local resources. I also do conduct home visits for residents needing wraparound services. So for our senior residents, as well as residents who may not be able to fill out applications online, I do make myself available for home visits, and we've done several already. We also do home visits if we need to directly observe home repairs or instances of mold being in someone's house, so we can also properly advocate for them. I also follow up with crisis intervention to assess if residents are in need of long-term assistance. We've been very fortunate that we have a great relationship with crisis intervention. We also do contact Lieutenant Baden with APD, and that's just to make sure that victims of trauma or crime, or just pretty much anything that may require adjustment back into the community setting, that's something we can assist with. I also have partnered with the Annapolis Police Department, as well as the Office of Emergency Management, and various other Annapolis-based organizations to meet the needs of Annapolis residents. For example, during the recent tornado, I partnered with Office of Emergency Management, as well as APD and several other organizations to ensure that the people who had their, unfortunately, who lost electricity, who had damage to their home, were connected to services in order to make sure that repairs were done and that they actually had a place to stay overnight during that time. Next slide, please. And now I'd like to bring on my coworker. Her name is Erica Griswold, and she's the Community Services Coordinator, and she'd like to explain her role.
Thank you, Erin. Good evening, everyone. I'll just be I'll go through my role for the as the Community Services Coordinator. I coordinate the schedules for nonprofits to utilize the centers to provide their service to residents. So what that means is that I would partner with nonprofit organizations and coordinate a schedule for them to provide the service to the residents right here in the community. So for instance, Arundel Lodge, they service a lot of the residents here in Annapolis and in Eastport. So they would utilize our resource centers and do one-on-one sessions. Whenever the residents cannot make it to their office and to their appointment, they would schedule, or we would schedule them to use the resource center to provide that service. That's just like Seeds for Success and Charting Careers. A lot of the nonprofits utilize our space to provide services one-on-one to the residents in the communities. I also coordinate and schedule community events for the community resource vehicle, and that's the mobile wellness van right here that you see in the picture. That particular event was a baseball event that we do, One Annapolis, that it's every year. I use that mobile wellness van and be very present in the communities and hand out resources and most recently COVID testing kits. I partner with city-based nonprofit organizations to bring resources to our families in Annapolis. I offer the peer-to-peer support and service to our Annapolis residents in need of assistance. More recently, as we know of the shooting, the victims over the past incidents, I offer that peer-to-peer service, showing up and supporting the families the next day, the night of. I'm right there, very present, right when they need something, I'm there to offer that service. At that moment, I would then.
Uh-oh, we froze.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think it just dropped out. Okay, I thought I was on. We can just give her to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
Am I here?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, sorry.
No,
okay,
no.
yeah, so I was just saying that we, after I gather some information and find out what the needs are to that resident, I would come back to my coworker and we would come up with a concrete plan and then go back and follow up what we can offer them, what kind of services that they would immediately need. And then provide, like Erin said earlier, provide that wraparound service. What I personally do is sit with our families and go over goals and concrete plans on what it is that they need and want for themselves and their families. We will make that goal, and then I will utilize every resource and everything that I can to make that happen for them. And then I would follow up with that family to make sure the progress is going. So that is pretty much in a nutshell what I do here as the role of the community services coordinator. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Erica. Next slide. Oh, thank you. So at this point, this does conclude our presentation. We'd be more than happy to take any questions anyone may have. This slide also has our contact information as well. So definitely feel free to contact us between the office hours. Oh, and I see Alderman Ceasefire. I apologize.
Yes, thank you. Although actually, I apologize. I believe Alderman Gay had Alderwoman Tierney slated first to ask questions, so am I going out of order?
We're doing the Rhonda method.
Yeah, I don't really use the hierarchy, so you feel free. You raise your hand first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Am I stepping on toes, Alderwoman Tierney?
No, you are not.
All right, excellent. So thank you so much for this presentation. A lot of really informative work. A question that I have is, in a lot of the communities that I think can potentially benefit from some of the community services offered by county public libraries are unfortunately not within easy, comfortable, safe walking distance to county public libraries. Have you guys ever had any conversation with them about potentially bringing some of those resources, and I don't mean like books, I mean like community resources, job help, into the communities that you service, or would you like help reaching out to those? Because that's been something I'm trying to expand on in some areas on my end, and I think it'd be a lot of benefit to Harbor House and Robinwood.
So thank you, Brooks, for that question. Yes, the answer is yes. Just maybe about 2 weeks ago, before the first incident of the shootings, I was coordinating with the offices, the rec centers that is in each high-risk community. And what I'm trying to do is coordinate a time and a schedule where a time and a day where I would then drive the city vehicle, the van that seats 15 passengers, and bus kids from the community to the libraries. So I'm currently in that process of trying to coordinate that with the library, and then have so I can reach each community and see how many kids are interested. And we want to do that twice a week. So that's currently in the works.
If we could find a plan, would you have space to actually bring micro branches to you?
Oh, yeah.
I think to our Robinwood location, we could definitely fit that in the space.
Excellent. Please connect with me and Alderman Gay offline after this. There's some really good ideas, and I just want to make sure we can get like a good space. It's a Quentin Cummings project on.
Right. Okay.
I yield my time.
Okay. So is that like a bookmobile kind of? Kind of same thing? Like you bring the books to, how do you do that? What is it? I'm really curious.
I mean, separate from books, because
okay.
Libraries aren't about books. It's about knowledge and resource acquisition for communities. Right. Just we associate with books because for the longest time, that was the easiest way to do it. But it's internet access now. It's offering like community resources like job help, building resumes and things of that nature. So if micro branch on my mind, although if we can find a better.
Well, I think so that we don't duplicate those services. We do partner with like Anne Arundel Community College, where they are coordinating schedules to have workshops out of the community centers, so the kids can then just take advantage of like job hunting, workforce development, learning how to have interviews, what to ask, what not to ask, what to wear, and things like that. Now, those I know resources particularly are at the library, but I think that they are at the library, at the community college, at the, community centers. So it's, we're trying to like see what is the best way to, offer that service. But I know for sure that the community college. We partner with community college where they run the workshops here out of the rec centers.
Okay.
So just to give you a little information on that, but that's not a bad idea.
I just have 3 questions, but definitely not in order of priority here. What is your interface, if at all, with the Stanton Center? Is there any coordination there with what we do there? None, or?
So we originally, our offices were at the Stanton Center. So when that was, before they opened the actual resource centers, we were housed there. Okay. And while we were there, we serviced a lot of the Clay Street community residents. Mm-hmm. But since we've been out, we include, of course, Stanton Center residents in our outreach. So we're still very connected.
Okay. Yes. You mentioned, Erin, one of the most, I guess, what you heard a lot of is rental assistance, right? What could you expand on that a little bit? What part of rental assistance was it? Where did you have to go to help them for that? Was this HACA properties, or just wanted to know what you were dealing with there?
Sure. And actually, it ended up being both HACA properties as well as private rentals. Many of the residents who contact us for rental assistance, if they happen to live in a private rental, more than likely it was hardship due to COVID-19, where either they lost the job, hours got cut, things just moved around in such a way that it made it very hard for them to keep up with their bills, especially with rent. And so we actually worked with Arundel Community Development Services. Right. And Heather Donahue over there, she has just been, I would even call her an ally, just a great ally in making sure that people can stay in their homes. And they have worked so well in getting rental assistance out to Annapolis residents. So that's one less worry that they have. With HACA, we actually are working with the Rental Avoidance Eviction it's Rental Eviction Avoidance Program, also known as REAP. And through that program, they are able to help residents not only just to pay on the back rent that they may owe, they can also stop the eviction process. Then they also assist with programs such as financial literacy and also working out a plan to make payments on the rent that is owed. Our contact person there, her name is Carolyn Wetzel, and she's been a great resource as well for the city.
Wow, that sounds really good. Just my last question is, are you getting the support you need from the city? Have you been discouraged on certain things? You can share that with us. That's what we're here for. Have you reached dead ends in a situation where the city could help, or is there any situation where you think you need more support?
Yeah.
Well, I would definitely say so. I know one of the big things is definitely we're going through the process, but we would love to have more members. As it is right now, it is just Erica and myself as part of the Office of Community Services. And even though we do have great partnerships and we're able to get assistance from community offices, we know they are very busy with all the things on their plate as well. And we hate having to call on them too often. But also, an issue that's been very near and dear to my heart has been the homeless situation here in Annapolis. I'm not sure if this is something that I could bring forth towards this committee, but the lack of shelters is still, as well as a day center for our houseless population to go to during the day, or and shelters at night, has been a great issue. Either we have to send people out into the county shelters. Many of them are full, as far as I know, unless anything changes tomorrow. Anne Arundel County currently has a wait list. We also are receiving individuals that come from outside of Annapolis to try to access our services. And if it wasn't for the Stanton Warming Center, for example, many of them would have no place to go. And, I think as it is tonight and for a couple of nights, it's going to be above freezing. So they may not have anywhere to go in the meantime. So
what happened to the winter relief program? Did that go away, or remember the churches? I remember.
Oh, yes, yes.
COVID probably was a factor.
Yes, COVID was a big factor. Many shelters, normally would take a certain amount of people. They are no longer able to do so.
Yeah.
So that does leave, unfortunately, people out of the program who would normally be able to be helped.
I learned this, 4 years ago from Chief Simmons. We just don't have the beds. When we look at the homeless camps, where do we put them? There's the lighthouse shelter.
Well, part of the issue was.
Oh, sorry, Brooke.
I apologize, Ms. Griswold, go ahead.
I was just gonna reiterate there that the warming centers are a temporary fix.
Right.
So.
That's just crisis mode, right?
Crisis mode, right.
I know.
It's hard to follow up, even though they do a pretty good job. It's hard to follow up with those people who just come in and then we don't see them anymore, but followed up with them to see what services they actually need. So that's been the biggest, challenge, but it's only when it gets cold. So. Yeah.
I'll yield my time to Director Simmons, sorry.
I do just want to state one thing on addressing homelessness and houselessness and those issues. Part of the problem with that, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it's because, I have data and studies that say this, so I follow up with that. We have a housing shortage. We don't build enough housing. That is why we have such a problem with homelessness, because people cannot afford to buy a home with the low supply and high demand. Mm-hmm. So build more homes.
Agreed.
Build more affordable housing.
Agreed.
Affordable. Keyword affordable.
I have so much more data and the filtering down effect of all that. And I know people make fun of me, but again, I got data. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, my dream would be to see free housing in Annapolis, if that's possible. That would be my dream.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
How about these vacant properties? Can't we take them and use them for that purpose?
So I wanted to make some comments about the warming center, if I may. And congratulations, Alderman Gay, on your chairmanship. Look forward to working with your group, with your committee. Just a little bit about the warming center. It's been in existence almost 12 years now. And it's not meant to be a shelter. It is a warming center. A lot of people get that mixed up because we receive folks from all over the county and they come into the Stanton Warming Center. And then I think what they think is that we do something with those folks during the daytime. But, our objective is nobody dies from exposure on the streets of Annapolis. And that's what we do. So they get in there 7 o'clock. They go through an intake process. They get a meal, they get their own cot, they can wash their clothes, they can wash up, and then at 7 o'clock the next morning, they're out on the street. So we do have a void for 7 a.m. when they're turned loose in the street. Some of them have jobs, a lot of them don't. And we need to figure out what to do, some type of daytime program with them. If the weather is still in the teens or below, we try to make an effort to keep the Stanton Center open so they can stay there during the day. And what Erica and Aaron does so well is they stop in from time to time to see if they can offer services to those folks. We average anywhere between 15 to 20 folks a night. So we have high numbers this year. Mm-hmm. And that should tell you a little bit about the folks that are on the street, not only in the city of Annapolis, but we get them from the county as well.
Director Simmons, do we actually physically drive around and pick them up?
No, we don't. The police do a good job with that. A lot of the folks that come there, Anne Arundel County will bring them in from Glen Burnie or wherever. We have to find a place for them overnight. Sometimes in the hospital will send some over because the hospital is full. We have people in the hallways. They don't have a place to go. And then they go to the Stanton Warming Center overnight. We get them from all over. APD, Anne Arundel PD, and all, not that much, but the fire department may refer, and other folks refer folks to the Stanton Center Warm and Relief Program.
Yeah, it's funny because there was one night and there was a van parked at Old Solomon's Road, where there's homeless that are along the shopping center there, and they were picking them up, and I didn't know where they were taking them. It was a county van. I mean, I was happy they were picking them up, but I was just wondering where they took them.
So the county has the option, working with Department of Social Services, to send them to Red Roof Inn.
Oh, okay.
Like Aaron mentioned, I think it's a backlog of people waiting for the Red Roof Inn.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit about the Office of Community Services. So the Office of Community Services used to report to the Assistant City Manager. Now that that position is vacant, I was asked by the administration to provide some supervision and oversight to that group. And as you've seen by the presentations from Erica and Aaron, they're all about their job, and they do very, very good work. And they do a lot of work for two people. And some of the things that we're trying to do is we meet every Friday to kind of put together, our protocols, rules and regulations, and where we want this to go into the future. And we've had many, many discussions on that. So we're close to trying to figure something out. And I'm still assessing, I'm still evaluating, I'm still learning about the program. But again, I am temporary. They're not a part of the Office of Emergency Management. They're their own office, as it should be. But we need to figure out, what is the most appropriate organizational structure to take this great program into the future here. And that's what we're trying to work out. And when we do, we're going to present it to the council, and hopefully we'll have your support. But I know one thing is that we need at least a case manager to help them out. At a minimum, a case manager. We might need some other resources, human resources as well, but we're still trying to figure that out.
So my first question is, who is running, or who will be proposing the budget for the Office of Community Services moving forward?
I think it's going to come from the city manager with our assistance at this point. So I've talked to the city manager about my thoughts and shared some thoughts with him. We still have some more in-depth discussions to figure out, what's best for the city as far as where we're going with the Office of Community.
And we did extend an invitation to the city manager to attend tonight, because I did think it was important that we have a basic understanding of what's taking place. I know everybody's getting frustrated. I'm getting extremely frustrated. And I know that you all are doing the work that you can do with just the two people. 180 families have been, helped. And I wrote down the top three things that you said. Most of it is around housing issues, which, as Brooks mentioned, is critical. And so I would have loved for him to be in here tonight, because we haven't had an opportunity as a committee that one will be hopefully going to bat for funding within the upcoming budget for the services, in particular the case manager, and additional services that the office will need. Alderman Schandelmeyer, you spoke on the library resources and coordinating the quote-unquote micro branch, which I thought was very important. And I agree also with Erica that we don't want to duplicate services. But another thing that we have fell short of investing in is making the center have any of those resources. The technology, the just bare minimum office supplies that they would need to do their job. And I don't know if, I think this is just a part of being proactive, in my opinion, is making sure that they're equipped to do the best job that they can do, because obviously they're dealing with the general public that would create some sort of trust with the city as it relates to them handling their job and handling issues that they care about, which in return is related directly to a lot of the crime that we see in our communities. And so it goes hand in hand. And so I would just hope that that is reflected in the upcoming budget. I know, Director Simmons, that you do a good job of whipping your budget for OEM. And so if we can do the same thing for this, that would be great. And like I just said, just some of the smaller things, like they need technology just for the council to keep in consideration. So we're talking like, basic laptops so that people can come in, do job applications on, et cetera. Office supplies. Brooks, you mentioned Wi-Fi. I'm thinking you all are already in a partnership with BG&E or receiving some sort of free Wi-Fi service.
Yeah, we do have. We have the Wi-Fi that we offer to residents, and we do have one computer that they gave to Robinwood. We were supposed to get some, well, more than one, and we were supposed to get some for Eastport, and then that one residents come in and use, and they have to wait for the other resident to get off and things like that. But just that one to do job applications and stuff.
And we do have a partnership with Comcast Business Essentials. So if any of the residents were interested in signing up for the Essentials internet package, they can do so for free. They're more than welcome to contact me, and we can get that process started.
Awesome. Go ahead, Alderman Shannon.
I apologize, Alderman Gass.
No.
One of the reasons why I'm so active about pitching libraries at Anne Arundel Community College, being in partnership with you, I do think that offers beyond just internet access itself, like scholarly sources, because they often subscribe to these databases and allow actual academic works to be accessed for free. And that is a great resource for people who are in formal education or just seeking to learn and grow themselves even more. So that's part of the reason why I harp on these so much. One computer in one of these communities seems really inadequate. Is the funding for that done through the city? Is the funding for that done through HACA and like the feds? What's going on with that?
It would ultimately come from a city budget. We lease out that facility. The infrastructure within that facility comes from city coffers. Mm-hmm. We paid for the furniture, and again, COVID-19 happened, so I have to cut everybody some slack for that because, focuses were elsewhere. And a lot of the furniture was delayed. That's why we kicked the office off in 2021 instead of 2020. So that's why I think in this budget, priority has to be on fully funding this office. We have to, because again, it goes hand in hand with the issues that we're seeing. And I think them being able to take advantage of even some discretionary funding is important, just for the miscellaneous issues that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Kevin, quick question. I'm sorry, I said Kevin. Director Simmons, quick question. When OEM purchases gift cards, is that done through the city or is that done through outside resources?
They're donated.
Okay.
We don't purchase gift cards. We don't. But getting back to the budget, they do have a budget, and their total budget in the Office of Community Services is like $171,250, give or take a few dollars. They do have a supply account. They have funds for training, education, and mileage of their vehicles. They have funding for special projects as well. So they do have funding. They do have a budget. What that budget should look like, I'm still trying to figure it out for this upcoming FY23 proposal.
Would their funding education this budget, I'm assuming is for staff because those resources wouldn't be accessible to the general public.
No. This is for their their profession requires, especially Aaron as a licensed social worker, their certification in updates, continuing ed, and Erica the same way. So in their budget allows for training, allows for education, and they use their own vehicles a lot. This allows for mileage as well. Now, getting back to the computer discussion, if we're talking about computers in the satellite centers in Harbor House, Eastport Terrace, and Robinwood, I can certainly talk to MIT and see if we can get some computers from there for the public to use in those facilities, if that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, we can get a. Sorry, go on.
No.
Yeah, a couple like Chromebook laptops which access the internet, and we can access like a lot of work sources and like Office, etc. That runs like $1-2 grand for between 4 to 8 computers.
So I'll look into that this week with MIT, see what we can come up with.
That's awesome. That'll be great. I'm gonna send everybody a reminder of just some things we have on the list. Alderwoman Tierney.
Yeah, we had a presentation from the police department public safety meeting, and I feel like that we're getting sort of a mixed definition of your offices at Harbor House and Robinwood. The police define them as substations. Sometimes they do. They say that they're staffed with the police or whatever. Are we sending out a mixed message there on what do they look like? Do you know what do my colleagues agree with me? I mean, I'm still not sure what we're calling these. It
is a little bit of a unclear purpose.
I mean, I know the background that they were in the capital budget as substations, and then we realized that we could put them on HACA properties, and then redefining them. But when they presented them at the public safety meeting, I still heard that they were staffed by police. Is that what you heard, Alderman Gay? They are as well. So is that going okay?
They are a substation. We are a substation.
When you say staff, it's more of a check through. I don't know if I guess it is the official title is a substation. I wouldn't label it as that.
Right.
A substation would have police equipment. I know they have the little walkie-talkie in there, but it's not really suited for. I would invite you to take, if you'd like, we can go see both of them together. I would like to go. I mean, I was only at the opening, the grand opening, and they weren't even furnished yet. So, but I want Erica and I want Erica and Aaron to feel comfortable with what they are and how they're defined, and we're all calling them the same things. Do you know what I mean? Just the fact that we're discussing it and not really.
I do. It's originally it was a substation / resource center, right? And I wasn't at the table, I guess, when it originated with those names, because I would have said, oh, what in the world? So It has been extremely difficult to get residents in the doors naming it as a substation. They know it's a substation. They don't want to come in. So we spent the first, we cut the ribbon in June, like May or June. So between July to November, we spent months trying to connect these residents to come in. How you saw them probably at the grand opening is how they still look. We haven't been able to get things the necessary things, but our goal was to still try to get the residents indoors. They trickle in, but not so much. In Eastport, we're located on the 3rd floor. Yeah. It's hard for residents that have that barrier. Yeah, so they don't come up. So what happens is when I am assisting a resident in need, I would just meet them down at the Eastport Community Center. and then HACA allows that. So I would schedule it and then meet them there, because then there they can just walk right in.
Yeah.
But they don't come up.
Yeah, that location is a little unfortunate.
And it's in the high area of crime. So that whole court is like.
Yeah. I remember Alderman Gay looked at me during the grand opening, and we both commented on this sea of police in uniform. Like, I don't know if that's the message we want to send here.
Right.
But
but I think originally they were supposed to be staffed, but I personally don't think that's even a good idea. They do come in and check in. They see if we need anything. They leave us with walkie-talkies they have here. They will come in and get one of the walkie-talkies, and then we'll have the other one in case we ever need it. But other than that, they're not. They are, well, I won't say staffed, because they do come in maybe like every 3 hours. It's very frequent, but it's just not, they're just not sitting here. We are totally okay with that.
Yeah.
Because any presence of them, the residents leave. So.
We want to make the center, I think, a place where they feel safe. You know, coming in, not to say that they wouldn't be safe with the police, but they just feel comfortable coming in and being in a vulnerable state. You know, I think that's the whole purpose of it. All right, so let's just try to close out some things and loop back one by one. All right, so if possible, Director Simmons, if you could share the budget with the council, that would be great. And this is what I'm looking at is more administrative instead of operational, because I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what access to funding is available to them currently to get the necessities they need to operate this office until the budget is passed and until they would, you know, get new access to new accounts after July 1, because that would be very, very helpful to them. We talked about the libraries. I followed up on that. The day program, I put that in question marks too, because all three of you mentioned that, and I just think that's important. Where would it, I don't know if we would have the space for something like that. I'm thinking a day program obviously would have to be providing some sort of lunch, you know, oversight and management. So will we have the staff for programming like that? The only place I could even think would be Pip Moore, but that's a business, you know, if they can't.
So if you're talking about a day center, you're talking about more staff, you got to find the suitable place in a suitable area. And you have to be able to have a staff. And what are we talking? We're talking 7, 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock to when they can go back to the warming center. So that's going to take quite a bit of funding to run a program like that. One of the things that we did last week is that Erica and Aaron joined me with the Community Action Agency to just kind of look at some of their programs that we can connect folks to. We spent about an hour with them last Friday, and they have quite a few programs. And I want to, you know, we just scratched the surface in our meeting, but I want to delve a little deeper into it and see if there's anything of that nature that we can refer people to, as well as other things that we can certainly connect folks to services through them.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. That was next on my list as well. I put, can we create a letter of outreach for nonprofit organizations? So like, is there a general just blanket template that we can copy and paste and say, hi, this is the Office of Community Caring Services. Please reach out to us if you want to provide your service for our community residents. You know, we just send that to everybody. Is that something that could be done, or is that something that maybe have already been done?
So, and I'll let Aaron and Erica comment on this, but here's what I found when I first came there. So they didn't have a website that goes out to the public. We're certainly working with Ina from MIT to design the website, Erica doing all the work for that. And that's probably one of the first steps in getting their name out and the office name out to the community. I mean, you see the roster of departments that you receive and all, and you receive it updates maybe once a month. If you look on that roster, you will not see the Office of Community Services on that roster. So right now, I think it's an identity problem. I think a lot of people know them, but they know them for their good work that they do every day out there. And their reputation precedes them. But however, we can reach more people. So that's one of the projects we're working on now, trying to get their webpage up and running, kind of get it out to the folks. And what you're talking about and describing is a doable thing, but first things first, we gotta get them out there.
And that was, you're reading my mind, because I just want to say, I didn't just write that down. It's been there. Website, question was next. And I looked it up. I see now that they have the drop down where people can put their name in and the data is collected. And that tied into another question that I had. How are you all able to track data? You know, most in today's, technology, most groups are using like Teamwork, Slack, just one of the many resources that are available online, so that you are just able to be like, okay, X resident is coming back for the third time. Let me pull up their file and let me look at what we've talked about since the first time they came in. How is that data able to be tracked so that we can better serve residents?
We created
that was tied into the website question.
Oh, go ahead, Erin. You can answer.
Oh, sure. No, that's an excellent question. At this time, we currently use Google Workspaces, whether it be Google Docs, in order to track intakes. So for every resident that we work with, we do an intake, and that intake has not only just their basic information for contact purposes, but we also do have a place to note what issues that they're coming to our center with. Now, from that information, the contact information, I also do have a database, and that does list cases as either open or closed. And I also make sure to have sections that also list if their needs were met, especially if, for whatever, if the need is not necessarily here in Annapolis, was the need met, and why it either was or was not met. So that's how I've been tracking the individuals that we normally see. We have, and just to be honest, we have had repeat, I like to say repeat customers, for example, and those are typically residents that have multi-tiered needs. And that's to be expected. Sometimes we may assist with rental assistance, but then maybe a month or 2 weeks later, they may need assistance with EBT sign up. So we do get, I would say, clients like that coming in. And very fortunately, they have also referred our services to their friends and family. So just word of mouth has been extremely helpful.
And that number that's on the number that's on the presentation, it's not including the clients that I helped. And I think mine was at 150 something as well. So together it's like over 300 and something residents. And that's been since I've been with the Office of Community Services.
And so that's good. I'm glad to know that there is you do have a database and a system working. All right, so let's close things out, because I think unless there are any other questions, I'm just gonna run through everything for everybody one last time, not to be answered, but to just so that we know what kind of a checklist is. Anybody else questions? Okay. So there'll be follow-up for the library. I think you all will coordinate that with Alderman Schandelmeyer. The day programming, I'm scratching that because we've just identified we don't have the space or funding. The case manager and the budget. Luckily on this committee, we're blessed to have the chair of the finance committee, Alderwoman Tierney. And so I will be dropping a little, sending a little note via Birdie just to let you know that that will be a priority at least from this committee to you. That'd be a request.
Yeah, it should be a city priority. Yeah, gotcha. I hear you.
Thank you very much. And then the MIT laptops. So we'll follow up with the laptops as well. And I think that's great because that gives us the base, you know, as the director mentioned, the vision is there and you guys are doing such a great job. We just really have to invest in the infrastructure that you need to be successful here. And just so people know, you can go to the Robin Wood Center, which is 1453 Tyler Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401, or you can go to the Eastport Center, which is 1155 Madison Street, apartment S4, right?
S4, yes.
S4. And just take advantage of these resources. I think y'all are doing a really, really good job. I'm assuming that this is out of the window. This was the old that was talking about, okay, yeah, Chelsea, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna throw it away.
Yes, we're currently revising that, so
Right.
that's what we're doing.
Don't throw it away so fast because on Fridays we talk about that. We got it marked up. You're going to see a different document. But out of the three things you mentioned, Mr. Chair, I just want to talk a little bit more about the case manager, if I can.
Absolutely.
So we're still evaluating, still assessing. From what I see, a case manager is certainly at a minimum what we would need, but that may turn into, we may see that we need a supervisor instead of a case manager. We just need to assess and evaluate just a little bit more, so it'll be kind of either or type of thing. And I'll be glad to come back, whatever we decide, I'll come back to this committee and justify why we chose the way we wanted to go with this thing.
Yeah, that would be good. As we get closer, Alderwoman Tierney, I see you may have a question.
Yeah, just so is it too simple to say that your objective is not so much to duplicate services, but to get people to those services? Would that be a fair statement? Or
Connect people to services.
connect people to services?
Connect is a good word.
Yeah, but we also provide that wraparound service. So that's different from connecting them to that resource.
So explain wraparound service.
So multi-services. So wraparound meaning just if they need one resource, another resource to help that resource and that resource, like that multiple resources. Wraparound like as a complete. Okay. That's where we fashion ourselves as providers, because if we were just an agency that connect residents to resources, we would still have the problem that other agencies, I think, have, where they don't follow up or they don't know, they just kind of like connect the residents and that's it. We get those residents that say, I can't get somebody on the phone, or I've been trying to get this and I have not been successful. That's where we provide most of our services, that one-on-one peer-to-peer support. That's why we are way different from any other agency that provide that connective service. We provide the peer-to-peer support service where nobody else offers that in Annapolis. That's the difference.
Right, that hand holding, that pierce, yeah.
Oh yes,
yeah,
oh yes, yeah. And it's very important because we find now that we want to encourage people to pay their rent now, right? HACA has this huge thing; they have a problem where residents are not paying their rent. But if you're dealing with a resident that don't know how to pay their rent, that's a very serious thing. People don't realize that people don't know how to pay their rent. Yeah. We do. We're there with them. We know these people. So we offer that service to assist them long-term. They have been just so used to getting by without paying rent that they don't even know how to sustain a job to even pay rent. We help with that kind of service. that service is it's just unvaluable. Yeah. And that's what makes us the difference.
And that again goes to the case manager need or supervisor need because of the numbers of people you serve and potentially can serve.
Oh, yeah. Yes, very much so. I would say just as my role as the social work care coordinator, I do have several clients that I've had to, I would say, keep on just for those, the wraparound services, of course, but then there are some residents that may need, say, hand-over-hand services, whether it be filling out the applications with them, making calls with them, doing home visits and talking about, say, a service plan, anything like that, and multiply that times 10 or 20. Yep. Yeah, and that makes it very hard to do other services in the city.
Because they will be utilizing the same service. I think all of our agencies connect same services, but they'll say, I went to so-and-so and they didn't help me. I'm like, what do you mean they didn't help you? And that's after speaking to them, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They didn't even understand the application or,
Yeah.
So that agency did its job, but how effective is your job if we're just connecting these services? And it's really changing these people.
It's really unfortunate as we just close out. I think that's important to close out on, and just for people to keep in the back of their minds, that's a great service to be able to provide somebody that hand-to-hand that, I will walk you through step 1 or 2 through 100 or A through Z or whatever. I've been seeing a lot lately and hearing a lot from constituents and things after the shooting that, the parents need to do this, the parents need to do that. We sometimes forget that parents need assistance navigating society themselves. And I think that's why this office plays such a critical role, because the quicker we can help connect residents to those services, the more likely they are to take pride in their community and take pride in the place they live. And I think this just goes long term. And so we appreciate the work. We appreciate the support. We'll definitely be in touch. Everybody has their follow-up. It's getting late, and I doubt that we're going to get to the next item on the agenda. So
sorry.
No, it's cool. We appreciate your all's time tonight. Definitely be safe. And we'll be in touch in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Good night, Director. Thank you. Good night.
So for our committee, we had ID 4322, which was the No Harm VIP program, which I think is critical to hear, but we would have 15 minutes. Do you maybe want to bring it back to the floor at our next meeting, or what are some thoughts?
How long is the presentation?
Hi, this is Tola. I actually didn't have like a panel, presentation. I did, sorry, my laptop was broken, but I really wanted to kind of just really introduce you to people that I was working with No Harm, but also answer kind of the questions y'all would have about the No Harm program and currently, where we're at.
All right, so let's run through it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, as much.
So I'll give you the floor to kick things off, and then you can just turn it over to us for questions.
Okay, so No Harm VIP stands for Neighbors Organized Helping Avoid Reduced Mortality, Violence Intervention and Prevention Program. We started the program last year in response to the rational homicides in, it was late 2020. So we got funding transferred from the CARES Act, and we were able to hire 8 violence interrupters that worked with the program. We did have Erica with us, and then she took the position with, Erica was directing the program under me, and she took the position with Office of Community Services. So that expertise, she was speaking about the peer-to-peer relationship building, that was a part of what, we were doing with No Harm. But the other kind of critical piece, which, advocated for was the prevention part, right? And that's the main thing with kind of want to drive now is, prevention is key. And that is, why, I'm always going to advocate for programs like this. So right now, we did not get funding, through the city budget. I was given a small $5,000 budget to do outreach programming through my mayor's office budget. But we are currently sitting down with the health department to develop a potential funding source through their health department for the No Harm program, so that we can go back to what we were doing. So I did want to speak on one of the aspects of what No Harm violence intervention and prevention is kind of the aligning different resources together. And one of the things we wanted to do was identify gaps in services, right? And then develop programs to improve individuals and families' quality of life. And that would lead to, improvements in their own community. So, when we did the engagement events, Erica hosted a lot of them. We would go directly into communities, interview young people, but engage with young people, present presentations about substance abuse, about what violence means, alternatives to violence. But then also, we wanted to listen to them and say, hey, what do you want done in your community? What opportunities do you think you're lacking? And, a lot of times it was, just something to do, right? But, the other things where, young people wanted jobs and career paths. So, that was another aspect of why I feel that we had, success with the program. Was we targeted, our target was, reduce the homicide rate of African-American males from the city of Annapolis, right? And create opportunities for them, right? But we were able to hire people from the communities. That was one thing. But then two, like I said, the statistics would show that no African-American males were killed from the city of Annapolis, in that first 6 months that our program was existed. And I know it's not just us, but it was the relationships. It was the building on relationships that the mayor's office had, but also building new relationships. So I just really wanted to speak to introduce two people that are working with me and indirectly work with the No Harm program, and we'll continue to work with the program, particularly if we're able to get the funding that we need to really build out the program. So I'd like to introduce Tiana Hayes, and she directs the Naptown Anti-Dope Movement, which is our overdose prevention program. She currently is funded. Her position is currently funded through a mixture of grant money from the health department and city funding, which totals about $25,000. That's what we're kind of looking for potentially, to keep that position funded. But Tiana can introduce herself, and she is housed but she works out of the Stanton Center. So I just want to mention that.
Hi, yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Tiana Hayes. And again, as Tola stated before, I'm currently serving as the coordinator of the Naptown Anti-Dope Movement.
So all opioid overdose prevention programming, particularly with our young people, is directed through Tiana. And she also is working, diligently with the health department as they try to develop programs that are more addiction-based rather than just specifically around opioids. Because, we have a PCP problem in the city, there's alcoholism, all those things. But we really want to be able to develop not only culturally competent programming, but also, programming that's going to adapt to whatever situations are, particularly in this environment of the city, and making it locally specific. So in that, I'd like to introduce Richard Reynolds. He just joined our staff. with the mayor's office, and he directs the LEAD program, which is Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. And we are adopting the national model that the LEAD program out of Seattle has developed, which is aligning itself with the movement for social equity or racial equity. So it's let everyone advance with dignity, Annapolis, and it's still the same diversion program, but more harm reduction based. So we'd like to introduce Richard. Oh, your mic's mute.
I was saying glad to meet everyone, glad to be here. And I'm pretty sure that everyone is probably already familiar with the LEAD program. So rather than going into some form of dissertation, I'll just say that as LEAD grows, so grows Annapolis. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that that is a positive attribute to our community. We've got stakeholders, we've got government officials, we've got police, we've got so many that we have to get involved. But it has to be at a level of understanding where everyone knows what the true mission is, and that is to, you know, divert some of these low-level opportunities out of the criminal justice system and into really and truly helping people that deserve help, and not to be sent down a path where there is no ability to turn around. You know, when you see an individual who has a cerebral disadvantage, or you see an individual who is suffering from an addiction, or you see someone who's suffering from things that are outside of their control, like their finances, their housing, their food, that's not a criminal situation. That's a human situation that has to be remedied. So not only are we at the intersection of technology and the way things are done within a pandemic, but my mission is to alert the world to the fact that we've been so high tech that we negated high touch. We have to meet these people where they are and help them. And when we do that, we're taking more of a holistic approach than just a tunnel vision view towards jailing and incarceration, which is not always the answer. That's putting a problem in a holding pattern until released to go back to the way things were. Got to turn that around and create a valuable paradigm that says, if you live in Annapolis, you can get the help you need. But if you commit a crime, you're also going to face the music. And so, again, as I said from the beginning, as LEAD grows, so grows Annapolis, and I'll leave it there.
Yes, thanks. So, open to the floor, sorry.
Any questions from the committee, my colleagues? Alderman Shandelmeyer, I see you got your hand.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we are short on time, I do just want to say, Tola, and Mr. Reynolds and everybody on the team, we appreciate all of your work that you've been putting into this, and thank you for everything you do. It's a tough job, and I'm glad we got you on it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I just want to say, Richard, you made my night, and that was just so well said and so important. And Tola, you never get the credit that you deserve. So you have our support, and I'm glad you're here talking about what you do.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Awesome. So Brooks, you sent us the version of Boston Police, basically Ceasefire. And so this was conceptualized from conversations had about Ceasefire Baltimore. Now, to your point, we need to strengthen this program, obviously, immensely to compare to what you've read, but just share those thoughts, please, with this group. And Tola, maybe you share how you feel about that, and how can that vision sync so that we can actually be, in front of some of the violent crime that we're seeing in the communities.
Yeah, so the Boston Gun Project, also known as Operation Ceasefire, is different than Baltimore Ceasefire, which was a more community-driven approach, but an Operation Ceasefire was actual government leading the charge. It was essentially Boston Police coordinating with social workers, guidance counselors in the schools and education departments in Boston public school system to identify youths who were most likely to get involved in gang violence during the crime spike of the 90s. And to put it in very layman's terms, I can share the studies out with you guys. It was basically guidance counselors and teachers who had a good sense of which students were struggling at the time. We'd go out and talk to them, be like, what's going on? How are things with your friends? How are things socially? Everything okay at home? And it was a way to intervene before things escalated and people would pick up a gun. It is credited with having a very significant de-escalation of youth violence in Boston. I think even when they accounted for the general drop in crime come the mid-90s, it lowered youth violence by something like 60%, to the point where even after they closed out the program, it still has had a lasting impact. I shared with my colleagues, and I can send this out to you as well, Tola, a report by the Justice Department done in 2001 on the success of the program and the implementation of it. I've shared this out with Deputy Chief Branford and Chief Jackson, and I was said, is this a program that you think we can implement with our current resources in Annapolis? If not, what resources do you need from us? And the big issue with trying to do this, though, is it is going to require a lot of coordination with the county and the county schools, because working in schools is an essential part of this. So I've shared it with our chief, I've shared it with our council. I've asked everybody, read it, give their thoughts, and if this is a program which we want to go forward with, which I strongly believe it should be, because we've seen it work in another city. We can make it work here. We can go to the county, we can go to the school board and ask, this is our plan, help us implement it. So it's something that's been done in another city that's shown to work. Let's try it here. I'm open for us doing some more research on specific programs here and there, but my personal feeling is we can't just dawdle. We can't do a study or a task to do a thing.
Yeah. I would agree with you there that we definitely can't afford to do another task force. And I don't want to make this a public safety meeting, but housing and human welfare is a critical component of our roles here on this task force. Public safety is probably the most important thing in human welfare. And so it's something that we will have to cover. I would like maybe Tola to have the opportunity to look over that and we bring you back at our next meeting. But, you know, my greatest fear is that we really don't have a next meeting, as we've seen just these incidents happen too frequently. And so let's try to maybe just talk offline consistently in email as you read through that document, so that we can just extend the supports that we need. As Brooks mentioned, he sent it to the chief. And they'll run through it as well. I don't want to duplicate, but that's why I think it's important to bring you and Tiana in from the get-go to make sure that you're involved in the planning of this conversation. I think it'll just be slightly different from lead, Richard, not to leave you out there, but I think they'll be housed separately. That's all.
Council, I know we're running out of time, but I just want to say this because like I said, we've been meeting with the health department, and they were like, basically, you know, give us a proposal, you know, sky's the limit, right? But we asked these things, right? You include a data analyst. So we would have this is the proposal we're presenting, that we would have a full-time data analyst. So so that we could even have a dashboard, digital dashboard, right? But that we want either you to partner or develop relationships with some evidence-based, organization, right? And, that's where we had to, kind of draw back and say, okay, we do have people that already have an infrastructure and that are ready to get on the ground right now. But for us to really seek funding or build out a long-term sustainable, we do need to work with, like Brooks, the organization is talking about, Boston Ceasefire, that have the credentials, evidence to show like, hey, this is how we can work with Annapolis. So I just want to put that to say that because there needs to be that, experience brought in as well. But we do need to, like you said, we don't have time to, and I'm saying we don't have time to kind of wait around till something happens again, right? But again, I understood the process. That's why, I'm thankful to be here at this meeting. But I've actually, and to fulfill the health department's request, I've met with Cure Violence Global, right? $25,000 just for an assessment, 3 or 4 days assessment of your city's opportunity to have a violence interruption program, right? And there are two aspects to what Brooks was saying is the prevention part is, real wraparound services, peer-to-peer support, and creating opportunities where people know that they don't have to get involved with violence. But then the other part, which, like I said, we were doing good on that, the prevention part. The other part is the actual interruption part, right? And you want to have, a kind of a structure for that. So we have, just to let you know, but it's like, we can discuss further later on, but it's like 2 parts of our program would be, young adults, where we're more focused on the prevention, and then the adults, young people, youth, and then adults, where we were focused on trying to develop a intervention, interrupters, initiative where, they're going out on hot, on nights when we know, things may happen, or even just regular Friday night, Saturday night. I mean, I'd like to talk more because, with LEAD, me and Richard have talked about how to kind of embed those aspects of LEAD into, our outreach for violence interruption. But, again, I look forward to the next meeting, and thank you all for having us.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll indulge me, I do have one other thing that I can share.
Of course. I'm really not pressed for time, so please go ahead.
I shared this with public safety, Alderman Tierney, and I know that you probably haven't seen this, but there was another study done by the University of Illinois on violence in public housing communities in the Chicago area during, again, that crime spike of the 90s. And what the study showed is that actually increasing green space and things like street trees and well-maintained vegetation was shown to reduce overall violence in some of these public housing communities that were dominated more by asphalt and concrete. And the reason behind that was, one, there's a de-stressing impact that's come around small elements of green space, and 2, it made the outdoor areas more pleasant to be around. And so you had this impact that was also well illustrated by Jane Jacobs's Death and Life of Great American Cities, with the eyes on the street. And more people being outside, more people watching, showed a reduction in crime. Put it in layman's terms, your grandmother was more likely to be outside, and you don't want to act up in front of your grandma. So, and that study is called Environment and Crime in the Inner City. It's done by Francis Koo and William Sullivan. So that's another thing that I think maybe we can propose to Director Maddox Evans, get some of her thoughts on it, and see if we can dedicate some city resources to some deep paving, some street tree planting. And it's something that's worked in another city. We need to try it. I know it sounds a little hippie-ish, but again, it was shown to have worked in another housing project. So let's try it.
It's the broken window theory. You're absolutely right.
Although another book called Palaces for the People shows that broken window theory should be labeled the abandoned building theory, because broken windows occur when the building's abandoned first. And I don't know, that's, I can talk offline about all the rest of this stuff.
But I completely agree with you, though. So what I think what we'll do at the next meeting is, if you would send us those, and I would encourage you, Alderwoman Tierney, to look at a couple of reports as well, and send the link to the report, and then maybe a paragraph just describing what is taking place. We'll compile those on one document, and we'll spend some time talking through the solutions at our next meeting, because I think the only way that we can really, help our communities is just by talking through some of these problems and some of the clear solutions that have succeeded. So let's do that. Let's make that commitment to each other to maybe bring at least 1 or 2 reports related to, because we don't want to take over public safety, but related to human welfare, and that ties in to public safety. But you know what I mean. So
absolutely, I've shared the Boston Gun Project report with you guys. I've always had trouble sending out the Environment and Crime report by Francis Coe and Sullivan, so I'm trying to get that downloaded. But I'll send that over to you. Together, each report combined is about 100 pages of reading. It's a lot, but these are some programs that have shown to have worked, and it's something really interesting, and I think that we can bring to Annapolis.
It's funny that you mentioned Eyes on the Street, and you look at some of our properties, well, not just, like Bay Ridge Gardens, there's nothing, it's there, the apartment units are turned away from the street into each other, into a concrete parking lot. I mean, but there's a lot there to talk about. I mean, you go down Clay Street now, and there's the dynamics have changed. They have the porches, but you don't see the grandmothers on the porches anymore. It's, I don't know what's happening there, but it's different. You get that at Bloomsbury Square, maybe you get sort of people yelling across the street from each other, from their porches, but.
Because the porch is a parking lot.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I think I just want to say this is that, and to kind of add on to what you're saying, Alderman Tini, is that the quality, every neighborhood in Annapolis is unique and has their own, and every individual has their idea about what their quality of life is or should be like. And, to what, like Erica was saying and DeJuan saying, some people don't know that, what they think is their quality of life is maybe not considered normal by a lot of people, right? And trying to break some people out of those mindsets, it takes the all hands on deck school system, but I just want to agree with like the Boston model, and that's what we incorporated with No Harm is when it comes from the government showing that violence intervention is not violence is not acceptable, and that, we're bringing these people resources to you. And then, again, we're creating opportunities for individuals to work with the city and be proud to work in their neighborhoods. That was the credible messenger part. So again, I just want to, thank you again and add on to what you're saying.
Hey, Tola, if I can have your permission, and you guys, if it's okay, I've got something that I wanted to add to that I think is very, very important. And at the next meeting, which I hope I'm invited to, we can elaborate a bit further. And that is that Alderwoman Tierney, you said that when we go into certain areas, there's the porch, which is available, but the grandmother isn't there.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to do is have a conversation with you offline, where we can utilize the Socratic approach, and you'll understand that the grandmother is there. She's just no longer 65, she's 40.
Right.
So the woman that's standing by that car,
she's taking care of the kids.
Yeah. The grandmother has a 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Who has a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's standing on the parking lot, as Brooks said, and not sitting on the porch because she's talking to her friend in the car. Whereas in our times, and I know you're a lot younger than me, the grandmother was 65 years of age and wore a house dress all day.
Yeah.
Now she's blending in because she's 45. But if we take a Socratic, push that back and forth, and what we see hides what our perception is. And that's part of where lead comes in, where you see a person who's cerebrally disadvantaged and you think it's a criminal. No, they're disoriented, they don't know where to go, and they got a bad dosage of the drug that Michael Jackson took. But he had enough money to be in $1 million home. This guy's just standing on the corner. So same drug, same person, different scenario.
Yeah.
But if we follow that Socratic approach, where we can.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like the wrong word was dynamics. It's
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, with the offset and the onset of the way that these things go, when you talk about young individuals, especially African American males in the community, where the father and the men in the communities are no longer as prevalent as they used to be, just like the grandmother isn't as prevalent as it used to be, then the entire dynamic changes. So the role of leadership comes from your peers and not your parents and not your grandparents and not the police and not the teacher, but that guy who's 3 years older than you, who you look up to because he's a hero in the neighborhood, because he gets away with more and can beat up more people, and everybody knows him and nobody will tell on him. So now it's your job to emulate what he's done. But again, we'll take a Socratic approach later and look at the viewpoint and the way we see things, because as an African-American male myself, but one of means, I've been profiled. And when I say profile, I don't mean based on race, but based on my location and the way things look to someone with a different outlook. I'm backing in my driveway and someone says, "Where are you going?" I hit my garage door and say, "Home." Why should that be? It is because I don't look like the grandparents and the others who are of this neighborhood who have been here for 50 years. I've been here 4, and there's never been a color-coded situation on this block. So now that you look different, you are different, although you fit the profile. That's what I'm gonna do, is judge the profile. So it's not a racial issue. It's a cerebral advantage or disadvantage that we've got to deal with across the board. And only that Socratic approach will address that if we really, really do a deep dive and educate people from, as they say, the cradle to the grave. And the grave is getting closer to the youth than it's ever been in history. I'm going to stop so we can, get back to life tonight and have our family.
No. I think that's great.
I know. I'm looking forward to the next discussion.
Yeah. Great place to end. Please, let's all do our homework and come back with one solution. That's what we'll call it. An idea or a concept that has worked in a city elsewhere, and let's just have discussion on it and talk about the feasibility. So I appreciate your all's time tonight. Our next meeting, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Just want to make sure that the next step's correct. So what would you particularly like as far, would like from as far as the No Harm VIP? Like I said, NAM is funded through the grant, and we are seeking funding in 2023. The lead is funded for 2 more years through the state of Maryland. So that position is taken care of as well.
Yeah,
I know we came here to speak about No Harm VIP, but I just wanted this opportunity for them to meet y'all because, like you said, public safety is one thing, but, dealing with the human welfare and quality of life is another. And we want everyone to, have the same opportunity to have the same quality of life.
Absolutely. I think what would be great from you is if you could follow up with Alderman Schandemeyer, because I think that, as you mentioned, at its core was that program that he discussed. That you guys were kind of piggybacking off of some of those ideas, and if that could be fleshed out and brought back to us, so that we could then have a clear idea of how feasible a project like that actually would be, that would be great. I know you said you had been working with the health department, and there was a strong need for us to identify a program that is in existence, that has the formatted infrastructure that has fixed similar problems. I know this one is not in existence, but maybe through Communications Brooks, we can find one that is still running and that's similar too. It's really just us nailing it down to, hey, look, Iowa City, Iowa, right, has a program that works really, really well. Let's call them up on the phone, talk to them about it, and then get the feasibility for a place here, or get feasibility for our city. And so I think that that's the next steps, if I'm not mistaken, but that's where I see things, and that's where I kind of would like to send us into direction, if that's okay.
Yes. Okay. Good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Really, really appreciate it. I'll see you all March the 21st at 6:30.
Hey,
Thank you, folks.
can you guys, will you be able to attend the finance committee meeting tomorrow morning?
I'll be late because I'm coming from another meeting from a day job, but yeah.
Yeah, this is, we're really going to dig deep into this go or no go on City Dock.
Yeah, is
Well,
this,
not really. I shouldn't say go or no go, but it's,
yeah, one second. Julian,
yeah.
could you?
Yeah, sorry.
I just want to make, just 1 second.
You haven't adjourned yet.
Oh, okay. Can a motion adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, folks.